I don't care. Hello there, AP Human Geo kids. Let's go ahead and finish up all these cultural examples. So we were talking about the Amish last time. And Amish. All right, here's some other coming at you. So none of these cultures are Afrikaans, but there's literally thousands of unique, interesting cultures in Africa. Just want to give a shout out to the whole continent of Africa right here and just highlight how unique and different things are all over sub Saharan Africa. I know that in the extent of this class, I tend to continually sort of say, like, sub Saharan Africa is all this X, Y, or Z thing. But culturally speaking, sub Saharan Africa is quite unique from other regions of Africa. Like, if you ever had like East African food and then South African food, it's very different. So give that some respect. So here we go. These guys are wearing a lot of bottle caps for their hats, and then all kinds of wonderful, delicious curries you put on meat, and then interesting face stuff right there. And then these are the house styles in West Africa. This dude's having some earrings right here. And those are some serious earrings. Holy cow. Next level. And then houses on stilts. This dude's having traditional clothes but still has glasses. And that guy's sunglasses around his necklace. Traditional housing. Got some cool clay braids going on. That's pretty awesome. And then hanging out with the drum, the traditional instrument of almost all Africa's cultures. But the culture that I actually really want to highlight is the culture called Afrikaans. The Afrikaans culture, they're also known as the Boer people, and they are native to South Africa. These are white South African people. So I usually have this kind of debate with my students about, like, is it possible to be a white African? And I mean, these people are white people who immigrated to South Africa. Their ancestors immigrated there 400 years ago. So they have basically the same entitlement to say that they are South African as white Americans have to say they're American. And so, yeah, these Afrikaans Boer people, over that 400 years where they were kind of separated and isolated from Europe, they developed their own language called Afrikaans. It's very similar to Dutch, but it is a different language. It has broken off that much. Their religion, they're largely Protestant Christian. They don't really have anything special about architecture. Women are, treated the same way as you would in all Western countries. But their unique trait is absolutely they're white people living in Africa. And it sort of creates a lot of dichotomies that I'm going to try to explore in the next couple slides, where well, anyway, I'll go ahead and give you these people's whole history. So let's just go ahead and do it. All right, so they really especially settled in modern-day South Africa and parts of, I think this is Zimbabwe. But mostly you'll find these people in South Africa today. Here's sort of their founding picture, and there's actually some racism in this picture. It's like, these Africans are practically naked. These white people show up in the year 1600s. They're going to bring civilization and all kinds of stuff, but they actually bring a lot of trouble. So here's kind of the 1800s now, and it's like the Wild West. This is the African Trail instead of the Oregon Trail. But yeah, so people were settling this land back then, and there was definitely a lot of conflict with some tribes, especially the Zulu tribe. So these Boers, these Dutch people, had a lot of conflict with their neighbors, and yeah, here they are fighting it out still. And then this is about 150 years ago. So white people living in Africa. A big part of their culture is eating a lot of meat at an event called a braai. So gotta love tons and tons of meat. Oh, it's so good. And then here's some of the Afrikaans people today. They don't really have so much money anymore today. That's an issue. And today, a lot of Afrikaans are treated negatively. There's sort of kind of a reverse racism going on in South Africa. And yeah, that's kind of the houses they live in. They're not really that fancy. And this guy, 100% Boer, so that's what he's about. And then parts of South Africa, though, and here's the thing. I can show you a bunch of statistics, and I think I will in the next slide, about economics in South Africa. And the Boer people tend to have it way better than most people of darker skin colors. But anyway, South Africa, what a mess. Okay, and so this idea that in South Africa the two races can work together. It's been this dream ever since the apartheid system ended. But I'll say there's still lasting problems happening down there, and some people live in super fancy houses and some people don't. Okay, so yeah, let's especially look at the kind of differences in South Africa today. So here's a aerial shot. This is where this is a neighborhood of majority white Boer Afrikaans people, and here's a neighborhood of mostly African people. So as you can see, houses are way bigger, land is distributed well, access to the street. Here, this is basically a giant slum. So it's just one street difference from the other. So this is definitely going to create ethnic tension and religious, or well, really cultural animosity from the white people that are living in the fancy homes and the African people who are not living in the fancy neighborhoods. And then yeah, a lot of poverty in South Africa. But I can now argue that there's poverty in all races. It's just, proportionally speaking, there's a higher chance of poverty for people of darker complexions. And then, yep, this is kind of the same vibe in that first picture I showed you. And then, yeah, oh gosh, look, this kid's drinking water right out of this gutter. Like, there's going to be a whole lot of diseases in there and stuff. This is really, really messed up. And here's a map showing you land ownership in South Africa. If it's a darker green color, it means more land are owned by white people. So even though the Boers, the Afrikaans, they are maybe 10-20% of the population, it looks like they own about half the land. So that's kind of messed up, and a lot of people comment about that a lot. And here's, yeah, average annual household income by skin color. So on average, white people are making, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times as much as black people, and that number has only been increasing in recent years too. So the cultural animosity is continuing. And what else we got here? Racial profiles. So 100 years ago, South Africa was maybe 30% white, but as time has gone on, more and more black people are coming into South Africa, so they are now a significantly larger percent of the population. And actually, quite a bit of this is actually immigration from other sub-Saharan African countries, because traditionally South Africa has been a more wealthy country in sub-Saharan Africa, but especially since, 1996, the population has just been growing out of control, mostly due to illegal immigration. Yeah, no jobs, no votes, we're penniless. And then here's white people saying, like, we've got to keep this country organized. But this is the reality. There's a whole lot of people living in slums in South Africa, and it absolutely sucks. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So I guess sort of the whole big takeaway from the Boers is they used to be kind of this big player in South Africa. And I mean, they still are today. They still own about half the land. But there now are some Boer people who are really poor, and there's a whole lot of African people who are really poor. So it's sort of like the problems aren't getting solved on any side, you know? Anyway, that's just all I wanted to really comment about there. Okay, now let's talk about the Sikhs. Big fan of the Sikhs. What up, my Sikhs? Where you at? So the Sikhs, they're actually the fourth largest religion in the world by number of adherents. However, you'll basically only find Sikhs in the northern parts of India and Pakistan. And that's specifically called the Punjab region. So it kind of goes into both India and Pakistan. And the Sikhs, I don't know if I'm capable of really diving too much into their faith, but it was founded by these 8 holy men who tried to have this blend of Islam and Hinduism, and it's really mostly a faith about, like, really vibing with yourself and really bringing yourself up to a higher level. And it's actually one of the newest religions in the world. It's only 500 years old. But yeah, believing in one God, serving others, being the best person you can be in your community. Believe God is a woman. What up, ladies? And I used to live with a Sikh guy. And, I never really got in a really deep conversation with him about his faith. He was just who's just always super cool, and he had like 1,000 friends, so he was like never home. And something I really want to emphasize is the holiest place for the Sikhs is the Golden Temple of Amstar, or I'm probably saying that wrong. Amstar? I'm trying. Anyway, it's in northern India. Here's a picture of it right here. Ooh, the Golden Temple. And the temple accepts any person any day. You can just walk in there if you're Christian, Muslim, whatever. And they give out 100,000 free meals every day. Sikhs are just cool people. Okay, give some love to a Sikh. And it's rather unfortunate that Sikhs are often confused as being Muslims because like there's a whole lot of like bad blood history between Sikhs and Muslims actually. And you'll always identify a Sikh man because he wears a turban. So wearing a turban. And women usually wear kind of traditional Muslim or India kind of clothes, but and also Sikh men never shave their beards. Another cool thing too. So they got big old beards all the time. All right, let's check it out. So here's northern India. That's the Punjab region. There it is right there again. This is the symbol of the Sikh faith. And then, oh, Sikhs. Checking it out. And then here's some guys with their traditional swords. There's the Sikhs, the Golden Temple. And then here's a bunch of people getting that free food every day. And here's some Sikh men. Make sure you know what they look like. And yeah, that's the outside of the Golden Temple. Here's a bunch of Sikh people just living it up. And yeah, it looks like the young boys, they get the turbans even from like baby times. So wear that turban if you're a Sikh. And then, yeah, Sikhs, super happy people. Right on. And yeah, this is a Sikh student who was the only Sikh I've ever encountered here in Clark County. And we took a picture together, and he was like, yeah, use my picture. Show your students that Sikhs are around. And, you know, you see how thick this kid's beard is. This kid was like a freshman. Okay, like, I don't know how they get beards like that. Because I'm just saying, like, if I was, like, checking IDs at a bar or a nightclub, I would not check his ID. I'd be like, you're 21. Come on in. So, right on, Sikhs. Cool, awesome people. All right, now, I think, is this the last one? Maybe it's the second to last one, but it's the Quebecois. All right, the Quebecois, you'll find them in the lower St. Lawrence River Valley in Canada. And they are only really on the far right side of Canada. And the thing that makes the Quebecois so different from the rest of the Canadians is they are French. We are French Canadian. We speak French in Quebec. So, officially, Canada has two languages, English and French. And you will find some French speakers all over Canada, but let's be honest. The vast majority of Canada, the lingua franca is English. People speak English. It's the language of America. Canada speaks English. But the entire province of Quebec, this part of Canada right here on its far right, they are just stubborn about it. And they're like, we don't speak English, we speak French. You know, the signs here in Quebec are signs in French. The people's history, it's a French history. Their flag, like, they don't even use the rest of the Canadian flag, okay? Red is traditionally a color of England. Blue is traditionally a color of France. So they're really just hardcore keeping the dream alive. And it's largely because Quebec was the original French colony in the New World. And for about 200 years, it was kind of France's connection to the Americas, and people settled here from France, and it was very French. But it was during the war, I think it was of 1767, something like that. France lost all of Canada to the UK, so the UK continued to immigrate and populate and colonize Canada, and they just sort of worked around Quebec, and they populated the rest of Canada with people from England, but the Quebecois kind of stayed on their own, and once Canada became a country, yeah, they joined up, but they feel very culturally different. And they make it very, very clear of all that. So let's check out the Quebecois. Oh, and actually, I need to mention this. Not only is this a language dispute, but there's also a religious dispute. Because the rest of Canada, I really should have had a map about this, the majority faith is Protestant Christianity, but the Quebecois are hardcore Catholic. So they're like, we're a different form of Christianity, we speak a different language, get out. So that's the specific stuff about the Quebec. All right, let's check them out now. So bilingualism in Canada. The vast majority of Canada, people just speak English. But once you get into Quebecois country, now you're starting to see more and more people are bilingual, and I guarantee you it's going to be English and French. And then, yeah, here's just a map showing you where Quebec is. And yeah, the rest of Canada's like, God, Quebec, you're always just causing us problems. And yeah, there's Quebec again. Quebec's all in French. And if you ever do go to Canada, they always have dual languages on everything. And it's just to make the Quebecois happy. Quebec guy. Is it Canada? Is it Quebec? You decide. And that's, poutine. Oh, this is a wonderful Quebecois dish. It's French fries, gravy, and cheese curds. All day, every day, I will eat this dish. And then, good old maple syrup pancakes with some bananas and some nuts on top. Oh, exquisite. Bring it on, Canada. Okay, so, I kind of summarized this a little bit on the last slide, too. But in the year 1508, 16 years after Columbus, some French dudes found Newfoundland. They brought back a few American Indians to France. The French king is like, boom, we're going to colonize that place. And for the next 200 years, this was France's outpost in the New World. And they actually didn't even call it Quebec. They originally called it New France. So that's kind of cool. So here's Quebec, probably in the year like 1600. And then here's France building up some maps, Nouveau Francais, ha ha. And then here they are connecting France to the New World. Right on. And there's some giant sea monsters, I guess. Cool, whatever, Do your thing. And I already mentioned this history too. They fought a war. France gave up all their holdings in Canada to the British Empire. And there have been several times, actually, throughout Canadian history where the Quebecois people have done a vote to try to quit Canada. They're like, we want to be our own country. We're so culturally different from the rest of Canada. We don't feel like we're being acknowledged or loved. So they have attempted to leave the country. And I think there have been maybe 4 votes. And it's, just a full democratic vote of everybody who lives in Quebec. It's like, do we want to quit Canada and be our own thing? And every single year they decide to stay with Canada. But every single year it gets closer and closer to a full-on break. The last time they voted to possibly quit the rest of Canada was October 30th, 1995, and the votes were 50% no, 49% yes for independence. So it's almost as close as you can imagine. And my understanding is even today, more and more people are like, get us out of Canada. We want to do our own thing. So I wouldn't be too surprised if in the course of our lifetimes, Quebec breaks off and declares their independence from the rest of Canada because they just feel so culturally different. All right, so let's check out some of these pictures. Do you agree that Quebec should become a sovereign nation and make a formal withdrawal from the rest of Canada? And then some people are saying oui, they're saying yes. And some people are saying c'est pas, no, And then, the final answer was no. So they have stayed. Vive la Canada, close call right there. And then, here's a bunch of the signs you would see if you ever go to Montreal, the big city in Quebec. And then the Quebecy flag and the Canadian flag. So now let me just do a little analysis of especially the Canadian thing dealing with multiculturalism and multiple cultures there. So it's actually a good thing for a country to sort of promote bilingualism and biculturalism because then you can just communicate with more people around the world. Like, there's still plenty of countries around the world, their major lingua franca is French, and so if you're someone who's bilingual in English and French, then you can talk to everybody and make more business deals and make more trades, and that's a good thing. But the reason why multiple languages and multiple cultural acknowledgement in a country is sometimes bad is because whenever there's like a national event, you're going to have to maybe make one language like the superior language, like kind of the language of the announcers or whatever, and then you'll have a translator on the side. And the Quebecois people consistently feel like their culture is being marginalized. They feel like the Protestant religions are given more weight and the Catholic religions are let down, and that French culture is being sort of eclipsed by English culture. So they don't really feel like they are They actively feel like a minority in their own country. Like, this isn't great. We want to have our own country where we can run things our way. So that's the counter argument to trying to appease all languages in your country. There was one more. The Jewish people. Sorry, Jewish people. Wouldn't forget you. So let's talk about them. You'll find Jewish people today in the nation of Israel. That is the Jewish nation. And I think today in the world there are 12 million Jews. 6 million of them are in Israel, 5 million are in the United States, and another 1 million are kind of all over the place. But let me do a very brief summary of Jewish history. If there's any ethnic group that has just gotten it rough in the history of the world, it's gotta be the Jewish people. They have been almost exterminated like 6 times. The most recent time was the Holocaust during World War II, where the Nazis killed half of all the Jews on planet Earth. They basically wiped them out from all of Europe. And the surviving Jews are like, we're not going to take any more chances. We're all going to unite up together in the land where we started, and we're going to fight for our independence and be a strong, proud Jewish people that is never going to get exterminated again. So they went back to Israel, but the problem is there were a whole bunch of Muslim people living there. And the Muslims didn't want the Jews to come back, so it's created this almost endless conflict with the state of Israel and its neighbors. I think things are getting progressively better, but I expect there will be some wars in Israel in the future. And thankfully, Israel has won every war they've ever fought, and good on them. So let's really highlight some other things. So the language of the Jewish people is Hebrew. That is their traditional language. Their religion is, of course, Judaism. Not really anything special to say about architecture. And women in the Jewish faith are actually considered super duper equal. In fact, the only way you can truly be born Jewish is if your mother was Jewish. So this kind of has this matrilineal progression. Also, the country of Israel has every young person, men and women, serve in the Israeli Defense Force, because their whole attitude is like, we're not getting knocked out of the world ever again. So everyone's going to learn how to fight, the men and the women. And yeah, their unique trait is they have probably the longest cultural history out of all the major ethnic groups in the world today. So let's check them out. So, boom, 200 years of Jewish history. And then Jewish population by region. So, the Jewish people before World War II, after World War II, so many of them just got wiped out. It was really, really rough. Don't forget the Holocaust. Hitler did a bunch of terrible, terrible things to these people. And now they've found their own country in Israel to call their own. And here's a bunch of Jewish guys wearing traditional Jewish clothes. Here's some more of this kind of traditional Russian Jewish clothes right here. I think those hats are just kind of interesting because they're like perfectly circular. Here's a Jewish wedding. I've been to a bunch of Jewish weddings in my life. They're always a fun time. And yeah, there's this thing where like you dance on the tables. And if you ever do go to a Jewish spiritual event and you are a man, you are expected to wear these caps on your head called yarmulkes. So even if you're Jewish or you're not Jewish, it's like everyone wears one. It just shows respect to the faith. So that's pretty cool. And then, yeah, here's a Jewish baby being born. Jewish babies get little snip going on down there. I don't want to describe it too much, but it's something that Jewish people have been doing for thousands of years. And then Jewish food, big fan. Oh my gosh, give me some matzo ball soup. Give me some latkes. There's this great Jewish deli close to my house growing up. Had like 1,000 things on the menu, and everything was amazing. Here's just more Jewish food. Oh, gefilte fish, smoked salmon. Oh, all these wonderful treats. They never slump you when it comes down to the amount of meat in a sandwich. Jewish delis, big fan. Here's a bunch of Jewish symbology. This is a menorah, their holy candle. This is a Torah. So just be aware of some of that stuff. And then these are Jewish houses in Israel, basically the same as the United States. Here's some more fancy housing. And then, Jewish women serve in the IDF. And then this picture really, I think, goes to sort of say the current political situation in Israel. The Israeli military has all these fancy big guns, well-trained soldiers. There they are just trying to make a nation out of this land that is occupied by Muslim people. And these Muslim people are like, stop harassing me, let me go to my house, leave me alone. And it is a big issue in our world today. All right, that's it for me. Peace out.